Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, my boyfriend will be choosing my reads for the next week. I did this last year in October and I thought it was really fun, so I wanted to do it again, and I think maybe, if he lets me, I'm going to make this a recurring tradition every year in October. And that's because October is a big month for me. It is the month where, as you can see, I check out a ridiculous amount of books from the library. So having somebody else have to make the decisions for a little while, I feel like is really helpful, because then I'm not so overwhelmed with which book I want to read first. All of these books have been on my TBR, so that is why I have them out. So what we're going to do, my boyfriend is here off camera and he is going to go through each of these and choose the first book for me right now. So this is a lot. Do you have like a method? Are you going to go like off of covers? Are you going to read the title? Are you going to look for like keywords in the synopsis? What's your method?
My method is to have no method. I'm going to use all of those all at the same time. So we're just going to go off of looks, words, descriptions, whatever really jumps out the most.
I think there is like 20 books here, maybe more than 20. So I'm going to shut the camera off, give him some time to go through all of these, and I will see you very shortly. So this is the stack of books that he said no to, so we're just going to throw those out the window. Alright, now give me your stack of things that intrigued you.
Interesting.
This is still a pretty big stack. Are there any standouts from here?
The Drift looks pretty cool. I like books involving snow and just snow in general, and there is a ski resort somewhere in there, and it's a weird mystery. And I want you to read it so you can, tell me about it.
He's ready. Okay. Thought maybe we were going to look at a couple more standouts. But this is the one. Let's see what this is about. 3 ordinary people risk everything for a chance at redemption in this audacious, utterly gripping novel of catastrophe and survival at the end of the world. So I've never read anything from C.J. Tudor. This has been on my TBR for a while. It's just over 300 pages, so this is going to be our first read for the week. So I will see you guys a little bit later once I actually start the book. So I have been reading The Drift today, and I am on page 145 now, which is I think part 2, because we have this like separating page here. So I figured it was probably a good time to update you guys. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about it right now. I feel like I had really high hopes because it sounded really interesting and I've seen so many good reviews. But I feel like at this point in the story, I just feel like there's too much going on. And I'm not sure how to explain this. We have 3 different point of views that we're following, which honestly is fine. I see a lot of people talking negatively about this book. They say that the point of views get really confusing, and I could see that because, like I said, we have 3 different people, but they're in 2 of them at least are in very similar sort of situations, and then each of those perspectives has a cast of side characters as well. So it is a lot to keep track of, but in my brain, I feel like I'm keeping track of it pretty well, because I'm just thinking of their not really thinking of the person, but the situation that they're in, and that's how I'm keeping track. But I do feel like there's a lot of other things going on. So we have, like I said, each of these people is stuck in a different situation. We have one woman that is stuck on a coach, like a big bus, and they're trapped inside the bus. It's snowing, it's freezing, and they have some infected people on board. And then we have this other woman who is stuck with a group of people in a cable car. So they're suspended in the air. It's snowing. It's cold. And then we have these people that are in this ski resort that is turned into a different type of building known as the Retreat, and they have infected people there, and it's snowing and it's cold and they're stuck. So we have this one aspect that is them surviving this like winter storm and being without power and being isolated from the world. But then we also have in this world this viral pandemic. So we have these infected people that are referred to as whistlers, and I think they're like sort of similar to zombies, but not really. And then we have this whole thing with the retreat, which we have come to learn is like a medical facility where they have like these infected people and they get the plasma from them in order to make the vaccines. But none of that was really explained until just now, like 150 pages into the book, but it is constantly referenced and talked about from the very beginning. So I don't know, it just like felt like I was dropped into something that I was never given a full explanation of. Like it felt like this was the sequel to a book, like there was something else that I should have read before this that set up the world and set up this virus, this pandemic, that introduced you to the infected people and to what this virus is and what it does to people and what the response has been to that. I feel like all of that was like, you were just supposed to know that before picking this book up. Like that's just how it felt to me. So I just feel like there's a lot going on and I don't know how like everything ties together just yet, and I'm a little bit confused. So it's kind of like like I said, like survival and like a thriller, but then it's also got some horror elements with these infected people. There have also been some very gruesome deaths so far. We just had like one character get attacked by a bear, which honestly I kind of loved. It's definitely gory, like it doesn't hold back on that front, which I'm liking. I just want there to be more cohesiveness with all of these different plot points that are going on, and I want to see how everything connects, because we also have like murder mysteries going on, like dead bodies that have stab wounds, so it's not like they were killed by the infected or by an animal. So it's like, oh, we have like a human killer on the loose, then we have these infected people, we have regular hungry animals in the woods, and then we have infected animals, then we have the winter storm and weather conditions, and like all of those things are a threat to all of these people, and I just don't know where the story is going right now. I have heard a lot of people say that there's a lot of crazy twists towards the end and it gets very shocking, so I am ready for that to come in. Like right now I'm getting to that point where like I'm starting to become tired of reading this book and it almost is starting to feel like a chore to pick up, but I do still want to keep reading, and I do want to finish this tonight so that my boyfriend can choose my next read. But I'm just like not having the best time right now, but it definitely could be worse. So we'll leave it right there. I will see you guys later. It is the next day. I never did my final update on The Drift for you guys yesterday. I think I'm landing at 2.5 stars for this one. I couldn't decide between 2.5 or 3 stars, but the more that I thought about it and I read other people's opinions that were similar to mine, I feel like landing on a 2.5 star just makes sense for me. I just feel like, as I told you guys, there were just too many different things going on in this story, and I feel like there was a lot of information and backstory that we could have got that would have benefited the story of this. Like I said, I feel like we were just kind of thrown into this world where we're just supposed to know about this pandemic, and we're supposed to know about these infected people, and we're supposed to know what the retreat is. That's just the vibe that it gave off, that I was just supposed to know that information even though it was never explained to me. I just feel like it was very scattered. Like the author couldn't pick one genre to write, so she did a whole bunch of things, because like part of it reads like a traditional mystery thriller, but then there are these, I don't know if they're like science fiction elements, like these elements with this infection, and then there's like these really graphic, brutal horror elements, and I just think that there was like too much going on and it didn't really make sense. Like in the end, I feel like what was the conclusion? What was I supposed to gain from this book? I'm not really sure, and I feel like I just finished it and I was like, What the hell was that? There were just too many loose ends that didn't get tied up by the end. Like, there were plot holes and different things that I was questioning that were brought up throughout the story and then never touched on again, and we never really got that, like, full circle moment at the end. I just feel like there was just too much left open and too much going on in the book, too many characters, and just trying to be too many different genres at the same time. And I think that's all I'm going to say about this one. I'm really, really sad that it didn't work for me because I did have high hopes, but oh well. So now I have another update on the next book, but you guys don't know what the next book is yet, so let's cut to that footage real quick. So we are back to choose book number 2. I have finished The Drift. I think I'm giving this 2.5 stars.
Oh.
I know. I wasn't
Only 2.5.
Okay, so this was the stack in front is the ones that you were interested in yesterday. Is there anything that's speaking to you?
They all speak to me in their own way. It's just which one speaks the most, you know. All right, so for the audience viewing this right now, I've been thinking about this one since I saw it, just because it was interesting and it seems right up Angel's alley. But we're gonna go with this guy right here.
This guy. Oh, Cloud in a Cornfield. This is number 3, and this should be a pretty quick read for me because it's young adult and that text is massive. Okay, I'm excited because this one just came out. I've read the other books in the series. Well, thank you. I think this will be a really good Halloween read. So this is going to be a read number 2 for the week. I am very excited, and as usual, I will see you guys once I start reading the book. Okay, so as you can see, my boyfriend chose Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo, which I have been reading tonight. I am about halfway. I'm like 220 pages in, and it's like 400, almost 450 pages, I think. This has been a very quick read. I knew it would be because it's young adult and I just read young adult so quickly, and then also it being like part of a series, so I already know like the story, I know the important characters and the world that we're in, so there's not really like a whole lot of learning that I have to do at the beginning of this book. But this is going to be hard like to explain if you haven't read the rest of the series. Basically, we are back in the same world. We have Quinn as our main character, and she has made it her goal, one way or the other, to put a stop to these people, the Church of Friendo, this group of people that is responsible for a lot of deaths, and she's taking matters into her own hand. It's really fun. We have a few different perspectives. Obviously, we are following Quinn herself, but we are following somebody else that is in, what is it, Kettle Creek? Or is it Kettle Springs? Look at me not even knowing. It's Kettle something. Kettle Springs. We're following a young girl there, and I think that perspective is really interesting. And then we also have all these other side characters and different things going on. Obviously, I can't give too much away because it's the 3rd book in a series, so like there's not really a lot to talk about that is going to make sense to anybody that hasn't read the series, but I'm enjoying it so far. I've heard a lot of really good things. I'm thinking this will probably be a 4-star for me because the other 2 books were 4 stars, but I'm having a great time, and I just think like this whole series is just so perfect if you just want, like, I don't know if cozy is the right word, but just a silly, I don't know if silly is the right word either, but like just a fun slasher, and I think summertime is perfect. Although I do think that the 2nd book takes place around Halloween, but I don't know why, like the whole series just gives me like summer vibes. I also love this cover. I think this is my favorite cover of the series so far. I don't know if this will be the last book, but either way, like I'll probably continue to read it if he continues the series, because like I've enjoyed them this far, and they're just books that I know I can pick up, and it's just, like I said, just a really fun slasher. So I'm going to keep reading this. My goal is to finish it, which I think I can do because I've only been reading it for a couple hours and I'm already halfway, so I feel like I can definitely finish it before I go to bed, especially if I sit down and really focus on it. So that's what I'm going to do. I will see you guys later. So it was at this point that Hurricane Milton decided to come and just mess up my entire video plan. So I do explain it more in detail, but basically I was stuck at work where I finished Clown in a Cornfield, as you guys can see. But the next few clips are just going to be a little bit out of order. So I do apologize for that. Blame the hurricane. Okay, that's all. So it is that time of night again where we are here to pick out book number 3. But it's going to be a little bit different. My boyfriend is going to pick 2 books for me tonight because if you've watched my recent reading vlog where I was reading a romance, that is when Hurricane Helene was on its way towards the state that I live in, and we got impacted by that. And I explained in that reading vlog that I work in healthcare in a long-term care facility. So whenever there's a storm, I have to be there and I have to sleep there to help out in case anything goes wrong. So now, not even 2 weeks later, we have Hurricane Milton coming pretty much straight for us. So I will be stuck at work for the next night, possibly 2. So I want to have books. I want to be prepared. So I will be requesting 2 books tonight. Do you have any thoughts?
Some of these books are kind of cool. I was checking out that mushroom one before as well.
The mushroom one?
The beauty. This one just sounds interesting. A society where these women are no longer going to exist or are in their last generation or something like that.
Oh.
Oh
Sounds
no.
interesting.
Oh no.
So this is the mushroom book he is speaking of. This is The Beauty by Aaliyah Whiteley. This I almost read for my eco-horror reading vlog because it has to do with nature, but I didn't end up picking it. So is this one of the official selections, or do you want to keep
We'll go with that for the first one here.
Okay, so we have The Beauty, and now we have book number 2. Well, while you're doing what you're doing, I just realized that this copy of the book, it says includes a different short story from this same author. So The Beauty is actually only like half of this entire thing. So it's even shorter than we thought. It's 103 pages, which means I will be able to get more reading done, which we love.
I'm gonna do All Hollows.
Wait, I wasn't ready. Do that again, say that again.
I think I'm gonna go with All Hollows.
All Hollows by Christopher Golden. I'm very excited to read this one. I've been waiting for it to be October so that I can read it because obviously it's a Halloween book.
It's definitely very Halloweeny.
Should I read The Beauty first or does it matter, or do you want me to read this one first?
You should do The Beauty first.
Okay, do The Beauty first,
Yeah.
and then I can read All Hollows.
Yes.
Okay, so I will be heading into work tomorrow morning, and then I don't know when I will be coming back. Obviously, I won't be filming at work, but I will be reading, so I will probably see you guys in a couple of days with my updates, although it won't make any difference to you because you're watching this in a video, but I'll see you guys at some point. I have no idea when. So today is Friday. I am back home. I got home yesterday after spending one night at work. Everything's fine on the hurricane end of things. It was very, very windy. We lost some trees. We lost some tree branches. The parking lot here at my apartment's definitely flooded, which we expected and prepared for. And we have no power currently. This is day 2 of us having no power. No idea when it's going to be back on because a lot of the power lines were ripped down, thrown out. What is the word I'm looking for? Damaged in the storm, or had trees fall on them. So that's going to make things take a little bit longer. But for a book update, while I was at work, I finished Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo. I think I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. But it's not, there's nothing wrong with the book. I just feel like my personal interest in the series is kind of dwindling a little bit. Just I feel like I'm not really as invested in the storyline as I was at the beginning, but I do think that they're really, really fun books. Obviously, like a really fun YA slasher, very, very fast paced, like a lot of blood and a lot of brutal killings, which if you're into that, then this is definitely a good series, especially if you're somebody who maybe doesn't read a lot of horror, because this is young adult. I feel like it is more like something that could be more widely enjoyed by a lot of readers, not just necessarily people that read horror. So I did enjoy it. I don't know if this is the last book in the series. I think I might have said this already. If there is another book that comes out, I don't know if I will continue to read it. Probably, because I've gotten this far, but we'll see. Overall, I did enjoy it. Would recommend. I think there was a lot of really, really fun elements within this, and a lot of, like I said, brutal, bloody killings, which I enjoyed. So after I finished that, I ended up starting The Beauty, which was the next book my boyfriend chose. I didn't get too far into this, and then I ended up finishing it yesterday after I got home, and took an ice cold shower and got relaxed after all of this stress and anxiety of the hurricane. This one I think I'm also going to give 3.5 stars. Okay, we're basically in this like dystopian world, dystopian future, where a strange disease came and killed all of the women and girls in this community. So now there are just like communities of men that are pretty much living off of the land and trying to rebuild after this, after the loss of their loved ones and the loss of just all women in society. And one day, one of the boys in this specific community that we're following finds these strange mushrooms growing out of the graves where women have been buried, and then these mushrooms basically come to life, and we have this strange mushroom creature, and then it becomes mushroom creatures that the men become involved with. And it's kind of a story of obsession, and it's also eco horror, and it's also a lot of body horror, and it was just very, very strange. There's definitely feminist undertones to this, obviously with the society and the way that the women are no longer there, and the men end up becoming domesticated in a way. And I don't want to give like too much away, but I do feel like there were a lot of things that maybe went over my head with this one, and a lot of kind of subtle, ambiguous things, and sometimes I really enjoy that, and sometimes I'm like a little bit lost, and I feel like this one I was lost at some points but also really enjoying it at other points. I like the writing as well. It was very lyrical and just had this kind of like, I don't know the word, like artsy quality to it that I did enjoy, and it was a really short read. So I'm happy that I read it. I would recommend it if you like weird horror, if you like feminist horror, if you like eco horror, things that incorporate nature, and also body horror, because there was definitely a good amount of that. So that's where we are currently. I have these two finished, and then moving on to All Hallows. This is my current read. I started this today. This was the last book that my boyfriend picked for me, and today is actually the first day of my Ominous October readathon. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with like the vlogs and the order of the vlogs. I did have a schedule, but then obviously the hurricane kind of came and messed up a lot of things and made it so that I couldn't film and read how I would have originally liked to. But this is my current read, and this is my first book for the readathon, and that's going to have a separate vlog. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, but that's where we are.
One eternity later.
So we are back. It is sometime later. I took a little break from doing this for my readathon, in which I read All Hallows. So if you guys want to see all of my thoughts and stuff on that book, you'll just have to watch that reading vlog. I did give it 3.5 stars. I'm here with my boyfriend again for him to choose one last book, just because I feel like it's so fun. I just wanted to squeeze one more in. So he is currently looking through the stack, and I will let you guys know when he makes that decision. What were the two you were looking at?
I was looking at Year of the Witching and the barcodes of the covering. I gotta look at the spine.
Smother Moss.
Smother Moss, yeah.
Okay, what about the Year of the Witching stood out to you?
I don't know. Witches are kind of cool.
Witches. I've been in a witchy
They're kinda
vibe this
metal.
October. And what
That's cool.
about Smother Moss? This is a new release. What stands out about this one?
I don't know. It's just 1980s Appalachia. Sounds cool.
Out of your two options you were looking at, which one are you going with?
Oh, I was going to go with Smother Moss.
Smother Moss. It's a good length too. I really like this cover and I'm very excited because I think it's like full core or something. Okay, so Smother Moss is the last book that my boyfriend has chosen for me. So I will see you guys probably tomorrow once I start the book. I'm about to go to bed because I literally cannot stay up any longer. It's a little bit late, but I did start Smother Moss today. I have just gotten to page 110, which is chapter 15, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So this takes place in the 80s and we're in the Appalachian Mountains. We have two sisters. We have Sheila and we have Angie, and they are pretty much like opposites of each other. Sheila is very neat, very organized. She's the older one, so she's a little bit more mature. Cares about like her schoolwork, cares about her housework that she has to do, the chores she has to do, and she just kind of wants to get through her life and not draw so much attention to her, and she's just very like focused on just doing everything properly. And then we have Angie, who is not neat at all, very disorganized. She gets bullied a lot at school because she kind of smells and is kind of dirty, but she's also not somebody who cares about her schoolwork. She doesn't care about her housework, and she's definitely somebody that like has a hard time dealing with the bullying that she faces, whereas like Sheila is just like, just be invisible, just blend in, like don't give them any attention. Like Angie finds it really hard to do that because she wants to fight back and defend herself, and she has a lot of different interests that many people her age, specifically females her age, are not really interested in. So far they are both very interesting characters and very well fleshed out, and I'm really enjoying reading them, especially because they are so opposite. But they live with their mother and I think it was like their grandmother's sister, not their grandmother's sister, I don't know. Maybe it was their grandmother's sister, some relation to their grandmother or their grandmother's friend or something, this old woman that they live with. And they basically live like out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. They're close to the Appalachian Trail. Not a lot of people are out there, and they are very poor. They don't have hot water. They have to work very hard for what they do have. Their mother works nearby at an asylum, so she's definitely in a hard field of work, but they all work very hard, like I said, to have what they do, aside from Angie, who doesn't really care about working. And there has just been a murder that has taken place nearby to where they live. Two female hikers were murdered, and the police essentially have like no leads. They don't know who did it, so that person is still out there. So obviously them living in this area and being kind of isolated in their home, the girls are very nervous about this and very scared, and Sheila definitely has a lot of anxiety and has a hard time sleeping because she's just listening to all the noises out there and she doesn't know if this guy is out there and it's gonna get them. But Angie, on the other hand, is like really interested and wanting to kind of solve this murder mystery, but then she's also like thinks that she's so ready to like fight off this guy. Like if he ever comes to their house, like she's gonna beat him up. Like she's just very like strong-willed and like confident and like wants to be in the action. So she's kind of doing her own like investigation, while Sheila is just trying to forget about this and not think about it because it is freaking her out so much. So it's definitely like a mystery, but it is also labeled as horror, so I'm waiting for some of those horror elements to pick up. I feel like there's a little bit of like magical realism almost in here. Sheila had They haven't talked really about what has happened, but she had something happen to her where she has a scar across her throat. But for her, she also has a rope wrapped around her neck. Nobody sees this rope, but she sees it and she knows that it's there, and it's like part of her body, and people can like tug on it and like step on it, and it affects her and she can feel it pull tighter, but it's not like physically a real thing. So I'm kind of like a little bit confused on that. Like I thought it was like a metaphor at first, but then I was like, no, hang on, is this a real thing? So it's like people can interact with it, but nobody can see it but her, so it's a little bit confusing. Angie is really into creating her own set of like tarot cards, and she's kind of into more metaphysical things, which I think is really, really interesting, and I'm very curious to see more of that come into play. The writing in this is absolutely stunning. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm just very excited to see where it goes. Right now it's just very captivating. It almost has sort of like a gothic feel to it. It's definitely like that quiet horror type of vibe where things are slower and subtle, and maybe they're going to be ambiguous in the end. Maybe we won't get every answer that we want. I think things are definitely going to stay more abstract, and I'm totally okay with that because I like the way that's written and I like our characters. So I'm really excited to continue reading this one. I will see you guys tomorrow. My hair is being absolutely crazy right now, so we're just gonna ignore that. I finished Smother Moss like literally a minute ago, so my thoughts are very fresh in my mind. I'm not sure what I want to rate this one yet. I think I'm going to talk it out and then see how I'm feeling. First of all, the writing was absolutely lovely and I did really enjoy it. One thing I think is a really, really strong component of the story is the setting. It is built out very, very well. Like you really feel like you are in the Appalachian Mountains, and the mountain itself that these people live on really becomes a character throughout the story, which I think is really, really fun. So it was definitely very, very atmospheric, and it had this very like gothic feel to it, as I did mention to you guys. There are some really, really fun elements in here. It's a little bit magical. There is some incorporation of like folk tales. Storytelling is a really, really big part of the book, and different stories that have been passed down through generations, and stories of this family and stories of this location, which I thought was all really, really fascinating. And there was just a lot of really fun elements, but unfortunately I feel like not all of those were very well explored. Like there were a lot of different things brought up that I wish we got more insight into. These cards that Angie creates, they're like tarot cards, but they're like there's a different monster or like creature on each card, and she has a very, very strong connection with those creatures, and I wish that was explored a little bit more. You know, were these creatures that she created, or were they already in existence and they spoke to her somehow and willed her to draw them? I know there were a couple mentions of that happening, but I don't know if that's the case for every single card that she drew. And then also like just the way that they communicate with her, I think would have been really fascinating to learn more about. There was a side character as well that was kind of a little bit magical, supernatural, and I wish we got to learn more about that character and their origin, where they came from, what they truly are, what their purpose is for the story. But this is definitely one that I think I said in my last update that it's definitely going to be more abstract, and it definitely is. Things are a lot more subtle. It is very, very metaphorical, and there is a lot that is left open for the reader to interpret. One thing that I mentioned to you guys was the rope around Sheila's neck. That never really fully gets explained. That is just for the reader's interpretation. This copy actually has a like reader's guide at the end, and that is one of the questions that they ask. They say, do you think the rope around Sheila's neck was real, imagined, or somewhere in between? So there's a lot within the story that, once again, doesn't really get explained. It's just kind of like open to the reader, which I kind of like, but then I'm also like, For some parts, I wish we did get a little bit more. There's one specific scene that did happen within the asylum that their mother works at, and I'm still very, very confused about it because it was like, I can't even explain it without like really being spoilers, but like something happened that kind of came out of nowhere because it didn't seem like it was really super connected to anything else that we were talking about, and then we never circled back to that, and it was just like very, very confusing. I'm still not sure what happened there, if it was real, if it was a dream, if like she was hallucinating, if there was something like darker going on within the asylum. I'm not sure, and I wish we got answers because I thought, okay, you know, we're gonna come back to this at some point in the future. We are gonna come back to this and figure out what it all means, and then we never did, and that area never got revisited again, which was a little bit frustrating because I'm so lost as to like what that even was. I think this is definitely a book that I could see so many people loving. I think this will work really, really well for a lot of people. I can see a lot of people giving it 5 stars, calling it a favorite book, but on the other hand, I can also see a lot of people really disliking it because of how open everything is. And it's very, very light on the like horror elements, and it's very light on the mystery elements, although there is some horror and there is like this murder mystery and a murderer on the loose throughout the entire story. But it's really mainly about these 2 girls, Sheila and Angie, and their relationship to each other, their sisterly relationship, and then also as a family living in the situation that they do live in and overcoming fears and figuring out different things in life. As Angie is 12, Sheila is 17, so there's just a lot of things to be figured out when you're at those ages. And so that's mainly what the story is. Like, it's very, very character focused and like relationship focused, and I did enjoy it. I'm just not entirely sure what to make of it. I think I might land like at a 3.5 for a rating because, once again, like, I can totally see people giving this 5 stars, but I can totally see people giving it 1 or 2 stars, and for me, I wasn't at either end of the spectrum. I was just kind of in the middle. There was a lot that I really, really liked, but once again, it's just like, it's not a book where you're going to get a lot of answers and going to get a lot of things explained. But if you are somebody who likes a lot of symbolism, once again, storytelling, a lot of folktale, some magical elements, like it's not entirely rooted in reality, and there's a lot that you could really think about and ponder within this one. I think it's definitely a good one if you were to do like a group read or use this for a book club. I think it would be a really good choice because I think there is a lot to discuss within the subject matter and within the relationships within the story. It was just a strange little read, and I did enjoy it, but I'm going to leave it there. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys next time.